I'm so moved and I'm so honored to be among you tonight. The energy I've seen in this room tonight, I hope with your help, will become contagious and spread as a catalyst for the rebirth of the new Greece we are all tonight dedicated to creating. I cannot thank enough all of you for being here, each one of you, and especially gestures like the one of Andreas, incredible gestures. We are so appreciative. Andreas, thank you on behalf of the Greek youth. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Andrew, George, every one of you for being decided to help our country. And among you, I can recognize so many who have repeatedly in the past and sincerely shown a great interest for Greece since the first moment we came to government last year. This visit, concluded today, was a very important step for us at a very delicate moment for my country. If I should describe the main theme of this trip with one word, that word would be stability. Stability in two different ways. Firstly, Greece finds itself already in a path of stability, both economic and political. Secondly, a new stable Greece is recognized and appreciated by more and more as a stability factor in our area, the Eastern Mediterranean. So stabilizing Greece has had positive repercussions beyond the Greek borders. And indeed, it is a striking difference compared to us just a year ago. Last year, we were considered a trouble spot for Europe in a relatively stable environment. Now the picture has been completely reversed. Greece is in the process of becoming a beacon of stability in the middle of a region which, as you read in the papers every day, is unfortunately destabilizing. This is a strong impression which already exists in the minds of many people I talked with this last week. This is a new reality which I elaborated with facts, with arguments, with long discussions about the challenges Greece faces and the promising perspectives of the new Greece we're building. We have met with distinguished members of the business community, fund managers, investors, multinational top executives. I also had the pleasure, the opportunity of meeting with Congress leaders at a very difficult conjuncture on the Capitol Hill, with both party leaders trying very hard to stop the government from closing down. I had the pleasure of meeting with the Senate leadership and House leaders, and of course we had a very productive meeting with Vice President Biden 2 months after I had the pleasure of meeting with President Obama. Finally, I took great satisfaction in meeting with the Greek diaspora in New York, with representatives of the American Jewish community, and with the Hellenic and Israeli caucus on the Hill. What I received from all those meetings was a very deep sense of respect for a country which sacrificed so much in order to safeguard its European identity and its prospects for a new, growth-oriented economic comeback. In many cases, I felt genuine love for Greece, a vote of confidence for our work, and most importantly, the question I heard so many times, what can we do to help? I explained to everybody where Greece stands now, what obstacles we have already surpassed, what challenges are still lying ahead of us, what the long-term prospects are for the Greek people. This is a small fact sheet of the Greek accomplishments so far. Within 3 years, we eliminated an enormous deficit in the order of 15% of our GDP, a record fiscal adjustment indeed. In the meantime, our overall debt increased only marginally due to the biggest haircut taken ever by any country, plus an additional and also unprecedented debt buyback. Obviously, all this came at a very high price. Greece lost about 25% of our GDP, of our pre-crisis GDP. The Greeks have lost 40% of their standard of living in just 4 years, while unemployment, as you've heard, skyrocketed. 27% for the general population, and more, indeed, than 60% for the youth. However, we now have some good news. Everybody's predicting that recovery is going to start anytime and that 2014 will be a positive growth year after 6 consecutive years of a very deep recession. Updated official reviews show that the 2013 recession will be smaller than earlier predicted. Official data show for the first time in 4 years that unemployment is marginally decreasing from the first to the second quarter of 2013. Most importantly, and according to all evaluations, Greece is going to have, by the end of this year, a primary surplus for the first time in more than 10 years and ahead of its current fiscal targets. And believe me, both for the European Commission, the IMF, the Troika, everyone, the primary surplus is the major criterion through which they decide, and they will have to tell us and tell the world that we are delivering, that we have implemented, that we've done our job in the best possible manner. The markets have also given us a vote of confidence this week. Our 10-year bond yield is around 9% now, compared to 10.4% a few weeks ago and more than 27% a year ago. What makes it even more optimistic, according to official surveys of the IMF, the European Commission and the OECD, Greece, as it stands now, has the largest cyclically corrected primary surplus of about 6% or more, and the largest structural surplus compared to an average structural deficit for the Eurozone as a whole. In other words, if Greece were to reach today its current potential, it could cover all its expenses, including interest payments, and still have some surplus for annual debt reduction. On top of that, our trade balance deficit, which had climbed to 15% of GDP by 2009, is now down to 0 for the first time in decades. And this indicator alone shows that we have not only undergone an enormous fiscal correction, we have also achieved a major structural rebalancing of the Greek economy. And this is fully verified by the OECD Going for Growth survey, according to which Greece already ranks in the first position among all OECD countries in implementing growth-enhancing reforms, the so-called structural changes, not only fiscal consolidation, but structural changes as well. Obviously, we still have a very long way to go because we started from a very negative territory. But we're on the right track, and we're moving ahead fast. In short, both quantitatively and qualitatively, both in terms of fiscal consolidation and in terms of structural reforms, we've turned the ship around, we've reversed the trend, we have stopped falling, we have already started ascending, We have stabilized our economy and we have started going up. Ladies and gentlemen, of paramount importance is that my country has also established internal political stability. During such unparalleled crisis, populism has been fueled by the agony, by the pain, by the despair, and by the deprivation of a large part of our society. Even extremism was fueled, unfortunately, with the creation of an abominable neo-Nazi party. It is a real shame when such groups surface in any part of the world. Even more so, it is a shame to watch a neo-Nazi group gaining ground in a country which only half a century ago lost 10% of its population during the Nazi occupation. It's a shame, but it's also a warning. As I'm sure you have all heard by now, we have crushed the neo-Nazis whose leading members are brought to justice, whose leader, together with his number 2 in command, are already in jail, and whose influence is falling precipitously as we speak. And I'm confident that populism will not gain further ground. It will lose popular support. And let me underline that everything we did was abiding to democratic standards and by the rule of law. Because a real victory makes sense when you defeat your adversary without becoming like him. Fighting populism, you've got to make sure you do not become a populist yourself. Fighting extremism, you've got to make sure you do not yourself go to the extremes. Democracy can defeat its enemies, provided we believe in democratic institutions and in the rule of law. And this is exactly what a society needs, understands, and appreciates. There are far less incidents of social turmoil in Greece today compared to 1 or 2 years ago. Why? I believe for 2 reasons. Firstly, because the Greek society has realized that we've got to move ahead, that we cannot and should not live on borrowing, on new loans. We can no longer be a consumption society. Greeks deserve better than that. We need to produce. Secondly, because the Greek people have already seen the signs of hope on the horizon. And the more hopeful they become, the more stable the country gets. Lastly, stabilizing Greece both economically and politically extends beyond our borders. Our region, the Eastern Mediterranean, is in turmoil. Developments in the Arab world, Syria, and other trouble spots generate instability. For instance, on Monday, I will be flying to Israel to push for a long-term strategic partnership among Greece, Israel, and Cyprus. Besides common concerns and common values, the 3 countries, we have something more in common through cooperation, through sharing. So this is where we now stand. Last year, Greece seemed doomed in the minds of many. This time around, everybody agrees that Greece is back, firmly back as an integral part of Europe and the Eurozone, back to the road of stability, back to the road of recovery and growth, certainly back as a key factor of stability in the region. And the Eastern Mediterranean certainly needs an alliance for stability and growth. Greece, along with other countries of our neighborhood, can certainly play a key role to such an alliance, which can only work, however, if it is all-inclusive. In other words, everyone is welcomed to contribute in re-establishing stability and security in our region. No exceptions. I want to thank our partners in the EU. I also want to thank our allies for their support. And last but not least, I want to thank our friends all over the world, and especially distinguished friends like you, like the Hellenic Initiative, all of you being present here tonight. Hellenic Initiative is about encouraging investment in Greece, about expressing solidarity to the Greek people. And I want to thank again each one of you. Such friends in times of need, to me, they're a real blessing. Such precious friends stood by our side, believed in us when very few others did. This is back. And of course, I want to give special thanks to the Greek diaspora, the ecumenical Hellenism, which to me is the soul of our nation. Our brothers and sisters who stretch all over the world, who are always there when Greece needs them, who are always so close to us despite living so far away from us. You are the heartbeat of Hellenism. You are the real power of Hellenism. And I want to thank you for your respect, for your love, and for your knowledge that Greece cannot be defined only by 5 years. Greece must be defined by 2,500 years. So you are our heart, and our heart beats together with diaspora. Εδώ χτυπάει η καρδιά του ελληνισμού και εσείς είστε η μεγαλύτερη δύναμη του ελληνισμού. Indeed, Greece is back. Μαζί. Thank you very much.
We've raised $1.9 million tonight. $1.9 million. And we need it north of $2 million before the night's out.